Hello Year 9s, this time we're going to talk some more about factorising. This is where it starts to get tricky. Okay, so this is about exercise 4.8 at the moment. This is where it starts to get hard. Let's change some things. Okay, so 4.8. So this time we're learning about, so we talked about expanding. So if I had something like this, remember what squared means? Means times by itself. So this is the perfect squares rule. So we've just got two of them, right? And the answer will be, the middle term is going to be twice this. So we're going to add these things together. So we add them. Oh, this was a bad example because you get the same one. Let's make it 3 instead. Because 2 plus 2 and 2 times 2 are the same. That's going to be confusing. All right, so 3 plus 3 is 6. And 3 times 3 is 9. So that's how you expand using your perfect squares rule. So once you recognize that and once you know this rule, it'll be really easy just to be able to do it instead of having to actually sort of times everything by everything. Let me give you another example. We'll do a -1 this time. So same thing. It just means that there's 2 of them. And now what we're going to do is we've got x squared here and we've got an x in the middle and then another number here. We're going to add these 2 things together, okay? So, oh, why did I put a plus in there? That's not good. Let's actually get the eraser. That was a bit silly of me, wasn't it? We need 2 negatives. Okay, so -4 minus another 4 is -8. And -4 times -4 is +16. Okay, so that's how we use our difference of perfect squares rule. Not difference of perfect squares, sorry, perfect squares. This is not dots. Now, what we're going to learn to do is do it the other way around, okay? So we're going to learn to go backwards. So let's say, for example, I give you this, x squared plus 14x plus 49. What we need to do is find a number that twice that number is 14 and multiply it by itself is 49. Now we know that number is 7. So we look and we see there's 2 positive signs, so the answer is just 7. X plus 7 squared. Knowing our perfect squares rule will help us to do this really easily without having to go through heaps of trial and error and, you know, all the different sort of expanding things we can do. So let's do another one here. This one, we'll do one with a minus sign this time. So we can have x squared minus 12x plus 36. Now we need to find a number that twice that number is -12 and the square of that number, which means multiplied by itself, is 36. Now what could that be? Well, it's 6. Now is it plus or minus 6? Well, we need to have a -6 because this first sign here is negative. If both signs are positive, this is a positive. If this first sign here is a negative, so is this. So have a look at what this first sign is and that'll tell you what the sign in the bracket should be. So that's how we factorize using our perfect squares rule. So if you can look at it and recognize that these 2 terms have something in common, like in this case the 6, twice 6 is 12, and the square of 6 is 36. Twice 7 is 14, the square of 7 is 49. That's how we use dots. Dots, why do I keep saying that? Perfect squares. All right, let's have a go at something that's slightly trickier, okay? Let's say I have this, x squared plus 4xy plus 4y squared. This looks a lot different, doesn't it? Because we've actually got something else on the end. Now, while it looks harder, it's really exactly the same, but we're just adding an extra step. So another way you could say this is this bit, well, we've got a square on the front, so that'll be fine. On the end, we could actually say that is the same as 2y squared. 4y squared is the same as 2y, and we could square that whole thing. So we've still got a term on the end that's squared. So hang on, if I just go back for a second, if you see this term here is 6 squared, isn't it? So what we want to do, this term here is 7 squared, we want the last term to be able to be squared. Okay, let's go back. So in this case we can. This term is able to be squared, which is excellent news. Now in the middle we want it to be twice something, don't we? So we want it to be twice. Well, what have we got? We can make it twice. Well, I think I've written the wrong thing on my sheet. That's what happens when you're in a hurry. Oh, that's what I wanted to do, right. So it's twice x and it's twice 2y, isn't it? So if you actually did 2 times x times 2y, you would end up with 4xy. So now this term is the same as this one, and this term is the same as this one. I know it gets complicated, I know. But that's why we're going to do lots of practice. So what we want is we want both these terms to match the front and the back term. Okay? So now we have our two terms. Our two terms are x and 2y. So x plus 2y squared is our answer. Because we know what this first term is and we know what this second term is, and we've managed to break that down in the middle into two lots of each term. Okay, I know that's really tricky. Let's do another example. Unfortunately, this one's going to be slightly harder again. So 4x squared minus 28xy plus 49y squared. All right, now we're going to do the exact same thing here. How can we make this first term a square? Well, let's say 2x. Okay, that term can be squared. Now, watch your signs. There is a minus sign in this case. Well, let's have a look at this last one. What do we know that that can be? Well, that could be 7y, couldn't it? Squared. So, yay, that works really well. Can we break this middle term into one of each? That's what we want to do. Make the middle term include both of the outside terms that we've created. So can we make it twice something? Well, yes we can, thankfully. If we turn this into 2x and 7y, it works, because 2 times 2 is 4 times 7 is 28. Good, we've got that, and we've also got our x and y. We've managed to create a 2x, and we've managed to create a 7y, which is exactly what we want. So the answer is just 2x and 7y. Now, minus or plus? I don't know why I'm asking you, you can't answer me. Minus, because this first term here was a minus. Over here, it was a plus, so we put a plus here. The first sign over here is a minus, so we've got to make sure we use that as well. So all you really want to do is find the first term and the last term and use whatever this first sign is. But you've got to be able to break down the middle term into both of those as well. Now, I know this is particularly difficult, so watch it again, have a go at doing some examples of your own, and hopefully you will do well. Good luck.